How is it that I cast off and moor up single-handedly on my 40-foot sailboat that doesn't have a bow thruster? I'm in quite a tricky little spot on my Marina, and when we go out I'm going to show you a little bit of the bay area. I'm going to show you the tools that I use and the issues that I've been having. It's not meant to be like a tutorial or anything, no professional tips or anything. I'm not very good, I'm just practicing here. The content I try and make is as realistic as possible, so I don't try and make things rosy. If I do edit things to make it look like I've done well, I tell you that. When I cast off, I did do it pretty well, and when I moored up, it did go wrong, which I'll show you a little bit later in the video. If you're new to the channel, I do a lot of different types of videos. A lot of it is boat themed, some of it is car related, which I'm doing car camping and fixing the car while I'm saving up to buy a van to convert that. So if you like the kind of outdoor living, kind of nomadic lifestyle, then feel free to subscribe. I really hope you enjoy the episode, guys. It takes me a long time to actually put these videos together, and I am filming single-handed as well as trying to manage the boat, so I really hope you appreciate that. Let me show you the lay of the land. So this is my boat specs on the Jeanneau website. This is the overall length of it, so that will include the anchor right at the front. If we go on Google Maps, this is my boat here, and this is the distance to the boat in front of me. There's not a whole bunch of space. This is a bit more of an updated version of Google Maps. So my neighbour at the moment is actually facing the other way, which is opening up this space for me, which is fantastic for me. The boat here is a newer boat versus what Google Earth was, and so is this one. So this blacked out spot here is a trimaran, so I took this as a bit of a guesstimate. This is a copy of my boat, but stretched a little bit. So mine is a 40-foot boat, and my neighbour one is 46, so he sticks out a little bit. I won't be too long, it won't turn out to be a PowerPointless presentation, but anyway, I have to go up here, and then before I can even turn, I basically have to clear the other boats and the pontoon, which means I have to go in pretty deep in order to do it. Today I ended up going from here, and because this guy was open up and this space was vacant, I ended up basically coming out, and as I was going out I was turning just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit, until I managed to clear this back here, and then went this way. So I went a bit more forward, a bit more forward, and then basically the moment I kind of managed to around here, I started reversing, and then I went out that way. That's the way I went. The way I prefer to go out is actually the other way, so going forward and then turning left and then heading straight out. That way I'm not being boxed in when I go down the fairway to the right, because there's a dead end the other way, and if the wind starts taking over, then I can get into trouble a bit more. Now there's the trimaran at the end. It makes it a little bit trickier because I don't have that much room, because it's a bit of a choke point. Let me show you how I get the boat ready. First we've got to turn on the start battery, head to the electrical panel and switch on the radio, the auto helm and the navigation. Next up is checking the engine over, so checking the bow, the oil, the coolant, which I did before filming. Open up the seacock, so in line with the hose means it's open. Take off all the coverings for the GPS, the wind and everything else. Make a proper coffee before we lose shore power. As a pirate looks at 40 and he's trying to look after himself. I recently picked up this Multi Collagen Protein Powder. It's tasteless and has 20 grams of protein in there. I've been using it for about 3 weeks now, and it's made a little bit of a difference to my skin complexity. Has a bunch of amino acids in there, and I will be buying it again. Mixes in the drink really easy. Link in the description below, and let's get back to casting off. Now we're all caffeinated, we can unplug the boat before we start the engine. To stop the boom moving over and keep it out of the way, I do tie it up. So I'm going to move that out the way and center the boom. I filmed this at 2 and below, so I really hope you like the video. Actually frozen on the hatch. That's what we're dealing with today, folks, so you better like the video. Speaking of warming up, it's time to switch on the engine, so we need to warm up the glow plugs first. I usually count to 10 Mississippis and then press the start button to ignite the engine. Press the neutral button in and throttle it to around 1,000 just to kind of warm it up a little bit. While the engine's running, I start to manage the lines and taking off the ones which have got the most slack on them, as they're not doing anything to hold the boat to the pontoon. If I'm going to be away for a while, I like to double up on the lines just in case. Although there's a light amount of wind today, you can still see the boat moving around. The elements really play into effect when handling the boat. It really is a lot different than handling a car. A car will stick on the road. You don't
really need to worry about the weather that much, but watch how easy I pull this boat. This boat weighs more than the car. Just one arm and just a little lean, that's all it needed. So you can imagine how much the wind affects you. I untie all the lines with the exception of the back one or aft and the front one at the front or bow. This is the view that I have from the helm. Luckily these guys are gone, so I could use that space if I needed to. But if we put the engine a little bit more power on. With the engine in forward gear and the helm away from the pontoon, what this does is it puts tension on the aft line and it pins you to the pontoon. So if you have a little look at the fenders, you can see how they're squashed here. This way I can easily go and untie the lines at the front of the boat. No rushing around, no panicking. You can see there's no tension on the line. When I moor up, this is what I do in reverse. The first line to go on is the aft one. I usually use my docking stick, which I'll show you in a bit. With the helm away from the pontoon and the engine running, means no jumping, no slipping, no sprains, no nothing, no problem. So what if there's a bit of wind catching the boat? So here I am giving a big push here. My feet are on the cleat and I'm really leaning into it. And yes, the boat is moving, but when I come off, the boat will return to the pontoon. With stronger winds, you need a higher revs on your engine. I do try and do as much from the deck as possible. I just put them on a single loop when I'm about to cast off, so I can do everything from the deck, with the exception of the aft one, which is keeping me pinned to the pontoon. I put the engine into neutral, which means there's no momentum pushing me onto the pontoon now, so I've got to be quick on this one. Otherwise, if the wind's blowing me off the pontoon, this is when it will start taking effect. There's only one throttle control arm on the boat, which is at my right knee right now. It's go time, so I'll give it a little bit of momentum to get me underway. The GoPro is in my mouth right now, so I really apologize for the angles. It is just me by myself, so I'm trying the best that I can do. As I mentioned, I need to keep an eye on this pontoon before I can even make the turn. The moment I clear the pontoon, which puts me in about this position, I head back to the throttle, give it a quick burst, with the helm all the way over to the right side. I would have liked to have straightened up a bit more down the fairway, but because I can't see the front of the boat, I throw it in reverse just to be sure, as I know there's space behind me. There's always a delay when you start reversing with the boat. That's because the propeller basically pushes the water the other way, so you get a bit of a gap, and then it takes a few more seconds for it to actually regain control. If it was a little bit more windier, I would have been pushed towards the boats on the right. And this is about where I am, so the middle boat there, trying to get out the fairway. This time around it went pretty well, as you can tell, because there was nobody watching. Here it is from the side. What I've been using to help me moor up is the dock stick. So basically it's a loop with a bowline attached to it, and you have this little set screw to stop it sliding around. And the way you use it, you put it on a boat hook, and what happens is you loop it over, and as you pull the stick away, it detaches, and you have the other line around the winch, and then you can kind of adjust it. So let me show you that. So rather than lassoing, put it around, hold. And now you can pull yourself in, go with the tension that you need, lock it on the winch, and then motor forward. Overall it's worked fairly well, however it hasn't been perfect, and if you have a better suggestion, please let me know. A couple of times I have prodded the pontoon like this, which has released it. Although it is easy to retrieve, when you're single-handed and it's quite windy, it's quite tricky to get everything back in order. When I moored up to my actual slip, I did actually catch it on the guardrail, releasing it early. My first stop was the fuel pontoon, so I tried it out there. Just looped the cleat, pulled myself in a little bit, and then I motor forward, pinning me to the pontoon. Slow is pro, don't you know? With just the one line on and the helm all the way over, all I had to do is wait for the boat to take over and push me towards the pontoon. You don't want to motor forward so hard that the line snaps. You're not trying to play a tug of war between you and the pontoon. You just need a little bit of resistance to get you on there. The wind is blowing me off the pontoon at 6 knots. I tried to do everything from the deck of the boat, that way I'm not jumping off onto a slippy pontoon. One of the advantages of using the dock stick over trying to lasso the pontoon like this is you usually get it on first time round. I usually go for a double loop if I'm going to be leaving the boat for a little bit. Yes, I did edit that, and yes, it took me about 6 times. Alright, welcome to the bay area. Let me show you around the bay a little bit. While I'm here, I'll just do a quick once around before we go back to practicing. So this is Cardiff Bay. Over there is the old customs house, which is now a restaurant. And then you have the pump out dock just there. And then these are the 3 locks here. So it goes 3, 2, 1. 3 is actually the smallest one, as we found out when we were delivering Andy's massive catamaran. And these locks for me are quite scary because they are literally the gateway to the world. So the moment we're out of these locks, that's it. So Cardiff's located in the Bristol Channel, which is the 2nd largest tidal range in the world. Which means if you're on a sailboat, tide is king. You have a little bit more leeway if you've got a fishing boat, because the fishing boats don't draw as much and they've got bigger, powerful engines. So, you know, although they still have to keep an eye on the tide, it's not as applicable, let's say. But in front of the barrage and the locks, they do dry out. Yeah, let's go over to Mermaid Keys. Let's go from there. I'm never in a hurry to crash the boat, so we're going to go with slow as pro. Just enjoy the day out for a little bit. So I can spend a couple of hours just practicing around before I make the big finale and hopefully get back into the mooring slip. Auto hounds will always try and take you into the mooring, boys. I'm only joking, of course. So what the auto hound does is, once you've decided the direction you want to go, you just basically press the start button here and it will hold that course. Now it won't steer you around anything like our lovely mooring boy here. I say it's lovely because we actually had the control cable snap on this boat, which basically meant there was no forward, no reverse, there was just hope. But luckily the guys from the bay managed to come and get us pretty quickly, so we managed to lasso onto the boy. There was 2 of us at the time. Over here with those 2 little sails that looks there, so on the blue wall, the memorial for Scotty of the Antarctic. Next to it you do have like a playground for children, so it's quite a good family area. I walk this bay most days when I'm here. Sometimes when I do walk the bay, I tend to go to the Cardiff Dogs Rescue Hotel. I always like to give them a little bit of a highlight in my videos when I'm over here. And basically they're kind of like a rescue centre, so the dogs are up for adoption. So yeah, you can volunteer to be a dog walker, which is what I do for fun, because obviously it's not always like this here, and because I don't have a conventional job, my work is busier when everybody else is not busy. So holidays I'm busy, when there's festivals, all that type of stuff. But at the minute I've only got 10 days work for January and February, so fingers crossed I can find more. So we need that, guys. It used to be called Tiger Bay, which is definitely a cooler name than Cardiff Bay. And these are the old docks. So they used to have a lot of freight shipping for the coal industry here. That's the this is the Norwegian church. Pairs, there's a coffee shop too. There's parking behind there. There's a coffee co there, and then there is a coffee co which is that white building there, which are very good, like a local chain here. And then speaking of chains, Mermaid Keys is just full of places like Nando's, Pizza Express, all that type of place. They've got a comedy club. There's quite a few hotels in the area too, and it's about a 15-20 minute walk to the city centre. And yeah, this is the Keys. This is where the party happens. This is where we were New Year's Eve.
You get a lot of people expecting fireworks, but it's only private individuals because the council does not put one on.
Now I like a big run up, and I prefer to be on the end pontoon there. Have a little look in the area, no one's around. So you kind of got to be fast enough so you've got control of the boat, but also slow enough so you're not going wild. And then yes, bring it back now. There's a delay when you reverse on the boat as well, and you get a bit of prop walk too. So if I center up my steering wheel and go back, you'll see that it will actually veer off in one direction.
With the helm centralized and just pulling into reverse, if you keep an eye on the pylon on the right of the screen and the white box, and see how I'm being pushed to the side a little bit. So I have to kind of counteract that and straighten up.
So nice and slow now. The wind is coming from that direction. And we're going to go for that one, that pontoon there.
I was going to speed up the video just a little bit. The docking stick is already attached to one of the guardrails and attached to the winch. So I get the extension pole, clip it into place, ready to go, and I just rest it on the side, kind of out of the way but easy to grab. If you're not bored, you're going too fast. This time I ended up in exactly where I wanted to be. I'm going parallel towards the pontoon as I'm reversing towards the main dock. Now it's time to stop the boat and hook on using the docking stick. It was nice practicing in very light winds. I spent around 2 hours in total trying out different slips. I did get blown off a few times. Nice and easy, just hook straight on. I carefully place the pole out of the way until gravity takes over. I remove a lot of the slack from the line around using the winch, and then I tie the winch off and then I motor forward. It would be interesting to find out how you guys do it, how you moor up your boats. I'm not very good, so if you have any tips for me or anything, that'd be great. Just leave it in the comments below.
With the engine on forward, it's pinning me to this pontoon here. So there we go. And then I'll just tidy it up in a second.
There is a boat tour video on the channel if you're actually interested in this particular boat. A couple of hours go by and it's back to the marina, so wish me luck I can get back into the slip. I just wanted to share with you this lovely sunset before we head back.
Got the dock stick at the ready. I've got my forward and middle. I don't know whether I'm more nervous or more cold than anything else. It is freezing, folks. That's what I can see right now, which is why I'm steering with my feet.
There's always a good chance that somebody's going to come out of the fairway. I look up to see if I can see any mast moving or any kind of noise around. I also keep a lookout to see if there's anyone around to help me, because I will always take a hand, no problem, just like I'll get up to help people out. Right now what I'm trying to do is line up the boat to the center of the fairway. It was really nice having people there to help me out on the pontoon. I made two little errors. One was I turned a little bit too late because I'm so used to my neighbour being the other way round, which means I don't usually have as much room as I do on the starboard side, because he's obviously more squared at the back of the boat rather than pointy at the front. So obviously that opens up just a little bit of space. I also tell people I'm not very good, which is true, but they have low expectations.
I'm not very good either, so it's always fun. Yeah, down there.
I go pretty far up on the fairway so I can get some good momentum on and straighten up the boat. When I go into reverse, I kind of have to counteract the prop wash. Keep an eye on other boats as I'm manoeuvring around. I keep looking at the front of the boat and the back of the boat to make sure that I'm still running in line and I'm not drifting off at the front or back. With the GoPro wide angle lens, it definitely makes it look like I got way more space than I actually do. It's always tricky on cameras for like depth of field, distance, height, all that type of stuff. Casting off and mooring up always seems to be the hardest part of sailing. I left it a little bit too late to actually make the turn. I was concerned about the boat which was in front of me sticking out. It's also a little bit tricky to judge the actual distance from the helm to the end of the pontoon. There's not much room for error in my slip. From where I stood, it looked like I actually had a bit more room. I was tempted to abort the maneuver and retry.
Thank you.
I have to put the camera down because I'm trying to talk to the guy, and I'll tell you what happened.
As I came in, I actually lost the dock stick. I think I hit something and basically ended up coming off, like so. As I came down the fairway, I left it a bit too late to turn, and it looked like I was about to hit this, but somebody was there to kind of help me out. I wasn't expecting any help, it's just that somebody was here. I had to come in fairly close to the pontoon, not only so I can actually grab the cleat, but I've got this post here too. Yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for being fans. Feel free to like and subscribe, One of my friends agreed to do a boat tour of his video, so maybe I can rope in a few others. So his is the Sun Odyssey, like mine, but a 47 foot instead of a 40 foot. So it's next size up, and it's 2 years difference in age. So his is 2 years newer. So it'd be so cold. Be sure to subscribe for that. But let's go back to it.